There is nothing quite like There is nothing quite like the challenge of the Autodromo Internacional Algarve in Portugal. We've already had two thrilling race encounters in the F4 Spanish Championship for the second weekend of their 2024 campaign. Victories already coming in for Keanu Alazari and Ernesto Rivera, the young man from the United Arab Emirates and the young man from Mexico. Could we have three different winners from three races going into this exciting battle on the third and final race of the weekend at Portimao? There's every chance with the competitors that we have in the top four positions of the starting grid. Keanu Alazari is back in pole position for the third time after an excellent run in qualifying all the way through the weekend. But the man lining up alongside him has the chance to become the fifth different winner in 6 races. Great Britain's superstar Nathan Tighe for the Campos Racing team, the man who led the Sodi kart team to prominence in their European karting campaign. Now the British driver has a chance to take on Keanu Alazari and go for victory. These two have never really met before on the same racetrack in the same sort of equipment. So it's going to be really interesting to see who gets the better of it. Keanu Alazari, already a race winner in 2024, and certainly coming into this race with every chance to extend his lead in the championship after a brilliant opening couple of races. A victory and a second place now puts him on 75 points for the championship, giving him a really strong position to go into this race from. So now we get to continue on in a fantastic run. So let's see how it all continues in fantastic race battles ahead. Nathan Tighe of Great Britain, what a chance to move his way forward for the Griffin team.
To finish the job, get it all together, bring back home one more win, and yeah, let's see what happens.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Ahí estaba, bueno, analizando.
We just heard a little bit there from Keanu Alazari. His first language, of course, is not Spanish, so we were able to get a little bit of an insight into what is going on there. We obviously have 2 mutual streams going on at the same time for Spanish F4, for our Spanish audience as well. So great to see Keanu Alazari in a very excited mood, getting himself ready for the start of what promises to be a tough race. There is Thomas Strauven, the Belgian driver, looking good for another exciting race for the Rodin Motorsport team. Already a winner in 2024 as well. Has come straight into his first car racing campaign and fresh out of the blocks is already a race winner. He'll be lining up on the second row of the grid alongside the Red Bull youngster from Miami in Florida. James Igozzi will be there on the second row for Campos. Ernesto Rivera, the race 2 winner for the Griffin Call by Campos squad. 5th position on the grid for him with Mattia Colnaghi. There is young James Igozzi of the United States. Looks like we could have quite a few drivers emerging from America in the next couple of years on the run to Formula One, thanks to the rise to prominence of the likes of the Netflix Drive to Survive series, the promotion of Formula One now being Liberty Media, a US-backed company, and with so many great races, including on the streets of Miami, Florida, there's a good chance for drivers like James to move themselves forward. But this man, Ernesto Rivera, very much following in the footsteps of Checo Perez. Goodness knows we could have a bit of a run up the ladder for Ernesto Rivera based on today's race. And who knows, when Checo Perez has finally hung up his helmet for good, there could be another young Mexican waiting in the wings to take over from him. Mattia Colnaghi, 6th position on the grid, on the 3rd row, alongside Rivera. And then Griffin Peebles, the Australian, alongside the Polish driver Jan Piotrowski. And then rounding out the top 10, we have Enzo Tarnvenichkul, the other Red Bull junior, in the top 10 on the inside of the 5th row. On the outside of the 5th row is the championship rival to Keanu Alazari so far, Lucas Flusha, looking so strong in the first round of the championship at Jarama. And here at Portimao, he looks like he's got a very solid run continuing on in his journey. Looks like we could have a very exciting race battle. Can Lucas Flusha get himself back into the sharp end of the field? So the grid is being cleared. On the 6th row of the grid, it is Douwe de Decker, the Belgian talent, who is making great waves in his single-seater prowess, backed by the BWT. His sister Maita is a very prominent young DJ and musician, actually breaking into the Belgian charts of late. René Lammers for MP Motorsport with the racing team Nederland colours. And René Lammers, of course, the son of the great Jan Lammers, Le Mans 24-hour winner and Formula One driver. Andres Cardenas for the Griffin Call by Campos squad, the Peruvian alongside the Australian Peter Buzanelos, who will rather be hoping that his race goes a little bit further than race 2 earlier on did. Him crashing out of the race, unfortunately, on the third corner. 15th on the starting grid will be the Polish sensation, Maciej Gladisz, who's definitely one to watch out for, making great rises through the field in the first two races from a lowly qualifying position. But he is able to work his way through the traffic. Francisco Macedo lining up alongside him on the 8th row. Matteo Quintarelli for the Santalot Racing Team lines up 17th alongside Juan Cota, backed as he is by the Spanish Racing Federation. Gabriel Gomez, a rather short earlier first race, will certainly want a longer one this time. And the Thibaut Courtois racing driver starting 19th will be joined on the 10th row by Leni Reed, the German driver for Monlau Motorsport. Ivan David, the Sri Lankan superstar, 21st on the grid. As far as he's concerned, he's hoping that the bat will rise. 22nd on the grid, Mikael Pedersen for the Drivex team. Gustav Wisniewski, 23rd on the grid for Technicar, alongside Maxi Restrepo for the Santalot Racing Team under the tutelage of two-time Indy 500 winner and Monaco Grand Prix winner Juan Pablo Montoya. Filippo Fiorentino and Adam Hideg, the Italian and the Hungarian, teammates at the Grand Motorsport team. Tim Gerhards for Monlau in 27th on the grid from Preston Lambert for Rodin. Then 29th on the grid for Lorenzo Castillo and Victor Dobzhansky in 30th, the two drivers on the 15th row for Technicar. Then it's an all-GRS Team USA 16th row. Leah Block, the United States racer, the 17-year-old daughter of the late, great Ken Block. Alongside her on the grid will be her teammate Alex Jacobi. And then Matas Reiber for Drivex, 33rd on the grid alongside Rayan Hakim, the sim racer turned single-seater star for Monlau Motorsport. And then Christian Cantu, the second of the Thibaut Courtois racing drivers, lining up 35th at the back of the grid. So as the contenders are still hoping for a really strong challenge and a charge forward, it's going to be a really tricky race for Chiara Malazzari. He's already proven that he can win races, but he's also very much of the situation that he wants to work his way and elevate himself further forward. But let's see how the contenders will go off the start. Chiara Malazzari is going to be very much thinking about championship. If Nathan Ty wants to take a victory off him, Keanu seems to be the sort of driver who's mature enough to look at it and think, well, do you know what? You can have a win. I'll have a second place and still outscore my rivals in the championship. Thanks very much. But it's looking likely that those rain clouds overhead may have a part to play in this race. We're hoping that the rain does not appear, but it's certainly looking likely that there could be a problem or two off the start. The drivers are making their way to the starting grid for the formation. We're on the end of the formation lap, waiting for the likes of Chiara Malazzari and Nathan Ty to take up their positions on the grid, and obviously they'll have to wait for the 33 other drivers to do the same. So it'll be fascinating to see what we get on this restart. I'm a little bit cautious about the start of this one because I'm trying to decipher why the lights are being so active on the start-finish straight. I wonder if the rain has already started in a couple of parts of the course and we're about to go racing, or if that is normal for the emergency repeater lights to be on the start-finish line, as well as the 5 red lights on the grid. Well, we seem to be under race start procedure conditions. I don't think it's going to cause too big an issue off this start. We're waiting for the cars to form up. They are obviously now in position. Well, we're waiting for the green flag at the back of the grid, and it hasn't arrived yet. I wonder if this start is going to be delayed. It is indeed. Look at that, the repeater lights are on and the red lights are on. So that is not a normal starting procedure. So I wonder if it's actually started raining on various points of the circuit. And of course, you've got to remember that there are 35 young teenagers here wanting to work their way through the course. But if it started raining on the formation lap and they're all on slick tyres, you do not want to put them into that minefield. So I think the start has been delayed for rain here. So it's going to be an interesting situation then, because the mechanics are going to come out onto the starting grid. Now, how many of them are going to come out with wet tyres? So it's not going to be a casual delay. It's certainly not going around for another formation lap. But is this weather related? Because those clouds look really dark. And there could well be part of the cars, part of the course could well have already been starting to rain. Now, interestingly, we've got quite a few comments coming in about this, because obviously it'll be interesting to see there you go, start delayed, partida retardada. That is the start being delayed then, and I wonder if it's for weather, because those clouds are pretty thick and grey over the course. I'm not seeing anybody coming out with any tyres though, so I wonder if there's a technical issue of some kind. But I'm not seeing anybody coming out with different sets of tyres, so I wonder if there's actually a logistical or operational delay. That might be the reason why we're in this situation. It's not exactly impossible. So we'll have to try and figure out what the situation is. I'm afraid I don't have any news to give you as to the reason for the delayed start at the moment, only that the start has been delayed. The lights have been switched off on the gantry. That says to me that we're actually going to have a little bit more time. Mechanics are allowed to go to the grid. That is the official statement of the race control. And they've been allowed back onto the circuit with the starter ignitions. So I guess that means they're going to switch the engines off while they're waiting. There's no point keeping them idle for 5 minutes or so, depending on how long it takes. That'll be the reason why. Francisco Macedo. Now we understand. So Francisco Macedo has broken down on the formation lap and been stranded in the middle of the road. So that'll be why we've had to delay the start. But I have to say, full credit to the team for taking the decision fairly rapidly. The organisational team, of course, that is. But it looks to me, no, look at that wind picking up. You can see it on the pit wall. The wind has picked up big time here at Portimao. And there's a chance now that while we're waiting for this race to get underway again, the weather could turn rather dramatically. Certainly for the time being, all the competitors are in their correct grid positions and waiting for a restart. So very unfortunate then that the retirement of Francisco Macedo has held up the start of this race, and it's devastatingly bad luck for the DXR team, who have already had a pretty tricky race of it. The fans in the stands watching on the main straight, on the viewing gallery that's just above the rather auspicious fountain that can be found outside the media centre here at Algarve. It's one of the most spectacular backdrops. When I first came to Algarve as a spectator at the end of last year for a classic car meeting, I was baffled by the grandeur and the excellence and splendour of the pit lane. The 5-minute board has gone up, so obviously that means that the drivers will get 5 more minutes of preparation. So Chiano Alazzari and Nathan Ty will get to start this race from the front row of the starting grid again. Straven and Negozzi, Rivera and Kolnagi, Peebles and Bashrovsky, Tarvadichkul and Felucia in the top 10. My sentiments exactly, my friend. What can you do? They've just realised they're on camera. That'll be Mum, Dad, Bob and Carol and Dylan Thomas and all the rest of them watching along at home as well. So now we get to get ourselves ready for another spectacular showcase. This is a great chance to take some of your questions and points. It's interesting how the debate has come up about rain, because although rain isn't the reason for the delayed start, we were debating earlier on whether it was, and it's interesting the different schools of thought, because some people have actually said, I mean, Kaya Laforce has actually made an interesting point here on the stream. If you let them race in the wet on slicks, we won't see a race, but a bunch of crashes. And then you actually get an interesting point of view from AMQ55, who says, let them race, it's how you learn. I mean, it's a very fair point. I mean, you have to get the balancing act between education as a racing driver and safety right. But there is an argument to suggest that, well, if it rains mid-race and you're on the wrong tyres, well, that's what you're going to have to cope with in Formula One anyway. But at the same time, these guys are 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. And we've already seen in recent months and in the last couple of years, incidents that we definitely don't want to repeat. And obviously you have to make sure that you adhere to the safety and the duty of care of the race drivers. Well, Formula KG asks a rather interesting, debatable question. Anybody know why F1 doesn't race here anymore? I completely agree with that question. Yeah, it's a brilliant race circuit. always delivers fantastic motorsport no matter what kind of racing is on it, and I am of the same school of opinion. It would be wonderful to see Formula One racing back here. I know the World Endurance Championship still has its moments on this circuit. So a fabulous situation for the drivers who were rather nervous going into this one, because now they've got a chance to do a little bit more race preparation going into it, to get back into the zone, to get the mindset right. It'll be very interesting to see if Keanu Al-Azari can hold off the British driver Nathan Tighe. These guys had fantastic races in their karting days, but this is a very different sport, a very different category of motor racing. Single-seaters and karting are only alike in as much as the fact that there's only one seat available in the car and you're out in the open. They couldn't be more dissimilar in terms of what it gives you, but what karting does teach you is driving at your limit to the ragged edge. The karts don't go anywhere near as fast as the cars do, but the scaled down nature of the race circuit means that effectively karting is like racing in Formula One in terms of scale. You're now on a Formula One circuit in an F4 car, so the speed difference is rather staggeringly. The lap takes quite a long time in these cars, and you've got a lot more racetrack to play with than you do in karting, which means that you're having to learn your racecraft all over again. In karting, you've only got about 3 kart widths of the circuit to play with. There you go, there's the Monlau Competición squad. Notice they've got a Scalextric banner in the background. Now that is the Scalextric that is owned by the Spanish delegation, not the Hornby Hobbies-based company in the United Kingdom. They are technically the same brand, although they have different owners in different countries. So I fervently expect that the next time we're in the paddock with Monlau Competición, they're going to have an amazing slot car circuit in their garage, or at least around the back of it in their hospitality, and we'll challenge the F4 drivers to a race or two. I'm going to start that one right now. So the drivers are ready for another exciting battle out on the course. Keanu Al-Azari versus Nathan Tighe. The United Arab Emirates versus Great Britain. And of course, MP Motorsport versus Campos Racing. This weekend, the rivalry between MP and Campos in Spanish-based single-seaters really is turning into another El Clasico. You know, in football, we have Real Madrid versus Barcelona. Well, in junior single-seater motorsport, we have MP versus Campos, and it's just as fierce a rivalry. Off we go around the course again. Keanu Al-Azari and Nathan Tighe on the front row. Thomas Strauven and James Zigotzi on the second. Ernesto Rivera and Mattia Kolnagi on the third. Then Griffin Peebles of Australia and Jan Petrowski of Poland. Enzo Tarvanijkul of Thailand and Lorenzo Flucher of Spain in the top 10. Douwe de Decker, the Belgian. René Lammers, the Dutchman. Andres Cardenas and Peter Businelos. Maciek Gladish and Francisco Macedo. Matteo Quintarelli and Juan Cota. Gabriel Gomez and Lenny Reed. Ivan David and Mikkel Pedersen. Gustav Wisniewski and Maxi Restrepo. Filippo Fiorentino and Adam Ideg. Tim Gerhardt and Preston Lambert. Lorenzo Castillo and Victor Dobzhansky. Leah Bloch, Alexander Jacobi, Matas Reiber, Rayan Hakim and Christian Cantu. 35 drivers getting themselves ready for another exciting battle out on the course. So let's see how it continues in earnest. It will be a very tricky race battle for all of the contenders in this one, not the least, of course, because the battles are going to be very intense on the first lap. We had a race that was plagued by safety cars earlier on today. If you're wanting to keep up to date with everything that happens in the championship, you can bookmark the website on your browser, f4spain.org. There are social media channels, of course, for F4 Spain, of course on YouTube, because that's how you're watching along. Like, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Make sure you never miss a moment. But there are also social media channels for F4 Spain on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. Yes, it is called Twitter. It's not called X. LinkedIn, Twitch, and of course, we also have the fantastic TikTok channel. So all of the contenders getting themselves ready for the start of this one. It'll be an interesting battle to see who comes through. A lot of great racing drivers that you're going to hear a lot about in the years to come. Many of them keeping up the family business. Very much on the front row of the grid. Motorsport is still very much in the family business. Karim El-Azari was a very talented sports car racer in GTs in his prime. Still occasionally gets the chance to go racing himself. both in karting and in cars. And of course, Nathan Tighe Sr. was a fabulously successful Formula 2 stock car racer in the world of the British short oval. So Keanu Alizadi and Nathan Tighe Jr. ready to continue the family legacy in single-seaters on the world stage. Straubing, Igotzi, Rivera, Kolnagi, Peebles, Pestrovsky, Tarvanitschkel and Flusha in the top 10. Then Due de Decker and René Lammers, Cardenas, Businillos, Gladish, Macedo, Quintarelli, Kota, Gomez, Reed, Yevan David, Mikael Pedersen, then Wisniewski, Restrepo, Fiorentino, Hideg, Gerhards, Lambert, Castillo, Dobzhansky, Leah Bloch, the 17-year-old daughter of the late, great Ken Bloch, Jacobi, Hakim and Christian Cantu. So let's see if we are going to go racing at the sharp end of the dais once again with a victory for one of the men on the front row of the grid. Are we going to see 5 different winners in 6 races? Or can Keanu Alizadi make it 2 wins out of 3? Let's find out! Great start from the MP Motorsport driver, but a good start too from Nathan Tighe. He's going to tuck in right behind Keanu Alizadi as they charge their way down to the first corner. Good start too from Igotzi as he hustles Straubing to the first corner. Round the outside comes Ernesto Rivera, not quite able to get up alongside James Igotzi to make the big move. But out in front, Alizadi, Tighe, Straubing and Igotzi. It's as they started in the top 4, no big problems for them. As everybody else tries to make their way through the first couple of corners, out through turn 3. Is everybody going to keep it nice and calm and tidy? So far, so good. A little bit of gravel kicked up at the back of the field there, so I'm not entirely sure what the order has in terms of changed. But Kolnagi has got ahead of Griffin Peebles at the start, and now he's going wheel to wheel with Ernesto Rivera as they work their way through turn 4. Couple of drivers running wide off the exit of the hairpin. Is everybody going to make it through? So far, so good. And there's a bit of a move from Preston Lambert as well. Lambert's got ahead of Mattis Reiber in the midfield. Solid start for Leah Bloch. Not a bad run from Adam Hideg and Fiorentino in the crams either. In the midfield, everybody's kept it much cleaner. Clearly the chat they had with the race director has rubbed off. So Alizadi leads, then Tighe. Now James Igotzi, he's got through. There he is, up on the inside of Straubing, and they're going to go side by side. But James Igotzi in the Red Bull livery in his Campos. He's going to battle it out now with Thomas Straubing. Straubing's going to try and hold it in the road in, but it's Igotzi that holds on to 3rd position. The Red Bull youngster, James Igotzi, now finds himself in 3rd place. The young man from Miami in Florida. Raced in the Tony Kart factory team in his junior and senior karting days. Now part of the Red Bull family. And for Campos Racing, puts himself in 3rd. Look at that twitch as he came through the hairpin. A big washout in the draft of Nathan Tighe. And that's the first time we've completed a green flag racing lap since the final lap of race 2. And certainly the first starting green flag lap of the entire day. Straubing side by side with Igotzi. Round the far side, Straubing's going to try and keep his foot in. He goes up on the top of the sausage curb. He should have backed out of that one a little bit earlier. And now Ernesto Rivera is going to try and get up the inside and take the place away from Straubing. Not on your Nelly, says Thomas Straubing. I'm going to hold 4th position. Thank you very much. So Alizadi leads the way from Tighe, Igotzi, Straubing, Rivera, Kolnagi. Kolnagi looking dangerous in behind Straubing and Rivera. Rivera trying to go round the outside of the Belgian again. Up through the hairpin. Still, they run side by side, and it's going to be very tight indeed to see who's going to get the best of it. Look at Nathan Tighe hustling Keanu Alizadi on lap 2. And Straubing still trying to shake off Rivera, Kolnagi and Griffin Peebles, the Australian. Let's watch the start again. It was a pretty quick one. Lights went out pretty much straight away. Didn't catch out Alizadi or Tighe. They both got perfect starts. There was one car that was left at the back of the grid. That was Lenny Reitz in the Monlau Competition squad. And I'm sorry to say that into the pits at the end of the first lap, more bad luck for the Santalok racing driver from Colombo in Sri Lanka, Yevan David, in more dire straits, and that's wherever it happened. It looks like he picked up damage. This is Straubing versus Igotzi. Watch Straubing. Up in the air goes the front 2 tyres. Came back with a little bit of a bit of a blip, but he seems to have got away with that one okay. Now hustling James Igotzi and Ernesto Rivera in P5. Then Kolnagi, Peebles, Pestrovsky, Tarvanitschkel, De Decker, having made a great start, now up into P10 in the pink BWT car for GRS USA. Then Lucas Flusha outside the points in front of Cardenas, Gladish, Lammers, who's had a terrible start, and Businellos ahead of Pedersen, Kota and Lambert. Up the inside, good defensive tactics there from Griffin Peebles to fend off from Jan Pestrovsky the pole. Jan Petrovsky and Maciej Gladish, the two superstar karting poles in this race. Both of them picking up FIA titles in their junior days. Maciej Gladish, the former FIA Karting Academy trophy winner. Jan Petrovsky, the former junior European champion. Down the hill, and Griffin Peebles still trying to shake off Petrovsky. Petrovsky going round the outside, looking good. Tan Vanichkul's doing a good job as well. He's the former junior world karting champion. Won in that brilliant day at Sarno in 2022. And there is Ivan David recovering back out on the circuit. Sadly, he has gone a lap down in the process. And also, Alexander Jacobi and Lenny Reeds have come into the pits at the end of the second lap. So more problems around the circuit for them. But there goes Griffin Peebles versus Jan Petrovsky. Petrovsky really nail-biting his way alongside Griffin Peebles, the Australian, trying to cover it. Some good work from those two. Peebles still just about hanging on in front of Petrovsky. As James Igotzi sets off on his mission, out onto the circuit again, it goes Jacobi. So Alexander Jacobi for the GRS USA team to the circuit. Haven't seen Lenny Reeds do the same thing yet. But then he did have mechanical problems on the starting line, so I wonder if he's going to re-emerge. Look at Nathan Ty, still hustling Keanu Alazari. Very much his equal at various points on the course, and he's just within the draft to have a real go at the man on form. So this is looking pretty tasty stuff at the moment. Excellent work from Keanu Alazari and Nathan Ty. James Igotzi and Thomas Strauven still having a great battle in the second position, third position run as well. Really tight stuff as they continue on their way forward. Going to see an interesting charge now from Douwe de Decker, who's trying to shave off the attentions of Maciej Gladish and Lucas Flusha, I believe. So Gladish is still there or thereabouts with Andres Cardenas. Looking pretty tough as they continue to run on their way through. Alazari, Ty, Igotzi, Strauven. And then we have Rivera and Kolnagi. Enzo Tarvanichko still looking for the move or two. Diving up the inside of De Decker. That looks like a very audacious maneuver from Maciej Gladish, but he looks like he's going to make it stick. He keeps his foot in. The pole really starting to look pretty strong as he comes through on the far side. Igotzi, Strauven, Rivera. Is that Rivera having made his way through past? No, he hasn't really managed to make that one stick. Strauven is falling away now from Igotzi by the look of it. So Igotzi is pulling well clear. A fascinating situation as the contenders still going strong. Coming off the turn again. Igotzi still having a really solid race of it. The Red Bull driver for Campos. Strauven is no longer there with him. Oh, actually, this is a bit further back, isn't it? This is Tan Vanichkul, P7. And then Petrovsky, Peebles, Flusha, and Maciej Gladish. Run on down the hill. Looking for an opportunity to try and get into the rear wing draft of Enzo Tarvanichkul. They go through the final hairpin. And how about this? We're going to complete 4 laps of green flag racing for the first time today. Up and over the top of the crest. Here comes Petrovsky chasing down Tarvanichkul. And we've got Lucas Flusha about to make his bid on Griffin Peebles down the straight as well. 2 or 3 overtaking moves being attempted. Can Petrovsky go round the outside of Tarvanichkul? It's going to be brave. The two men that won the FIA Karting Junior titles of Europe and the World Championship in 2022 now locking horns as they go to battle. And Tarvanichkul leaves no room for negotiation on Jan Petrovsky as Lucas Flusha gets the move on Griffin Peebles in the same breath. Excellent stuff. Really great racing so far. So the battles continue to rage. To the inside line, Flusha still having a great race of it. They drift out wide as Flusha makes his bid on Jan Petrovsky. Griffin Peebles has had to give second best to that for the moment. Maciej Gladish is in there, so too Douwe de Decker and René Lammers, the Dutchman. They work through on the far side of the course, looking pretty tasty at the moment. They work through on the mountain circuit section of the circuit, up and over the top of the crest, looking very hungry for more. Just waiting to see if Douwe de Decker can get a little bit aggressive there on the inside of Maciej Gladish. Look at this replay, 4 wide into the curve, and it's Griffin Peebles that got hung out to dry. Managed to run wide. Somehow he kept it on the racetrack. Oh, but that was so nearly a collision there between Peebles and Flusha. In fact, I think there was mild contact, but Peebles was able to get out of the throttle in time to catch the car. So fascinating scenario still. Out in front for Keanu Alazari as he continues to lead this race in fine situation at the moment. But it will be a very solid situation for all of the contenders. Al-Azhari running in front of Nathan Tai. Here comes the bid from Strauven, back on the inside of Igotzi. Lucas Flusha still running in close formation. Strauven trying to get his move on the inside of Igotzi. For an opportunity as they run in on the far side, up the top of the crest of the course. A great race going on. Nathan Tai still hustling Keanu Al-Azhari, looking for the opportunity, looking for the bid. Up on the inside line. That is still Ernesto Rivera, still hunting down the move. Thomas Strauven running in close proximity in good formation. It is not easy to see how this race battle is going to continue. Al-Azhari in front of Nathan Tai, Igotzi, Strauven, Rivera, Kolnagi, Tarvanichkul and Petrovsky. Let's look at the replay a little further back in the pack. And that looks to me like the GRS Team USA car. That's Leah Block getting the move on the inside there of Rayan Hakim. So Leah Block, having taken to the world of single-seaters like a duck to water. And still they continue in the battle. Oh, two cars have come off the road there. That's Matteo Quintarelli. And he appears to have tangled with Tim Gerhards for the Monlau Competition squad. So that is Tim Gerhards for the second race in a row, getting in hot water with another driver. And it's both the Santaloc superstars now in trouble. Jovan David already a lap down, and Matteo Quintarelli off in the gravel with Tim Gerhards. Safety car, safety car. Well, that's pretty much to be expected with Lenny Reed down and out of it. And now we also have, of course, Tim Gerhards finding himself in the gravel trap. And the safety car being out on the course definitely gives a little bit of respite to Keanu Al-Azhari, but it also gives Nathan Tai a chance to reset a little bit. So it's going to be an interesting reboot. 19 minutes to go, plus the additional lap. And it's going to be very interesting to continue the situation. But what an astonishing situation to continue battling on. We're going to see all of the exciting battles continuing on in the second half of the race. As there walks away Tim Gerhards. Not exactly the situation he wanted to find himself in as he trudges away from the scene once again. So problems then for Tim Gerhards this weekend. They're going to have to regroup. Incident involving cars 50 and 69 in turn 8 is noted. That is, of course, Matteo Quintarelli and Tim Gerhards. So that is going to be reviewed by the officials. The safety car now having caught the leader of the pack. Well, Keanu Al-Azhari leading the way from Nathan Tai, James Igotzi and Thomas Strauven third and fourth, Ernesto Rivera in P5, and then Matej Kolnagi and Jan Petrovsky, Lucas Flusha, Enzo Tarvanichkul, Griffin Peebles, and then Maciej Gladish in 11th position ahead of Due de Decker. There is Leah Block getting herself back up to speed again by the look of it. So clearly, oh no, sorry, that is Alexander Jacobi. I do apologise for those who thought that Leah Block was out of sorts. Not in the slightest. It's actually Alexander Jacobi who's got a little bit of an issue there. Let's have a look at the replays from the first part of it. Keanu Al-Azhari getting a perfect start on Nathan Tai. Not a bad run either from Thomas Strauven, who was able to fend off from James Igotzi. So a really exciting run through to the first corner. Lots of good battles taking on, and a really interesting run through the first corner. I have to say, it was a fairly clean start compared to what we'd seen in the previous encounters. Bit of a lock up there on the first lap, and that was ultimately what dropped Lenny Reeds out of the race, along with Jovan David having to come into the pits for a lap. Here's the moment from Strauven. Two wheels going up in the air. In fact, for a brief second, I think he did actually have all four wheels off the deck. This midfield battle really strong. Due de Decker having a great race with Maciej Gladish, the Polish driver, not afraid to go for it. Lucas Flusha taking on Ernesto Rivera. So a really exciting situation for all of the contenders on this one. So as an exciting situation for all of the contenders. We'll continue on here. There is the return. So it'll be an interesting situation for an exciting run. So an excellent display from Keanu Al-Azhari and Nathan Tai so far. There's a lot to do. So now we're going to get to see what Nathan Tai can respond with on the restart. going to be fascinating to see how it plays out. And now we're going to get to see how it all continues. But Nathan Ty hustling in behind Kiano Balazari. So we're going to get to see a really interesting situation on this restart. Just waiting for the notification that we're going to go racing again on this lap. Obviously the race officials have got to wait until all is clear around the circuit. I think they have now managed to move Tim Gerhardt's car from his present position. So we should be able to go racing again very shortly. We're just waiting for the note from race control. The field is being backed up though, because that's actually Tim Gerhardt's car on the low loader. I think they're trying to assist the safety team by rushing it forward a bit. At least we got a good, 5 laps in the can of green flag racing before we had the incident, so good to see. So Aniga Angus wants to know, did the lap cars unlap themselves? There's only one unlapped car that would be, and that is Ivan David, and I'm not entirely sure that rule transfers to F4. I think that's very much only a Formula 1 or IndyCar ruling or NASCAR ruling. I don't think that's a regulation that applies in the junior single-seater ladder, so I don't actually think Ivan David is entitled to unlap himself, which I have to agree is unfortunate. But unfortunately there, I don't think it's going to be the same regulation as in Formula 1. It would obviously be a lot easier for the youngsters to try and make progress. The problem is, in allowing the youngsters to unlap themselves, it's a little bit more complicated when these guys are sort of 15, 16, 17 years of age. It's a long circuit, and it's actually quite a lengthy procedure in an F4 car to go through the process of unlapping yourself and then getting yourself back to the racing lap. And the priority here has to be for the racing to go green. So it's one of those situations that unfortunately I don't think Ivan David is going to be permitted the chance to unlap himself. I don't think that regulation has been introduced in F4 racing so far. So we're under safety car for at least one more lap. Let's go through the order. Kiano Alazzari leading the way from Nathan Ty. James Zigotzi in third position from Thomas Strauven in P4. And then the Mexican Ernesto Rivera, P5 in front of Mattia Kolnagi, Jan Petrovski, Lucas Flusha, Enzo Tarnvanichkel, and then Griffin Peebles from Maciej Gladys, the Pole from Due de Deca, René Lammers and Mikel Pedersen, Peter Buzanelos, Juan Cota, Preston Lambert ahead of Gabriel Gomez, Andres Cardenas, Adam Hideg, Matas Reiber, Filippo Fiorentino and Matteo Quintarelli, then Lorenzo Castillo, Gustav Wisniewski, Viktor Dobrzansky, Christian Cantu, Leah Block, Rehan Hakim, Maxi Restrepo, Alexander Jacobi, and sadly a lap down, we now have the Sri Lankan Ivan David. 32 drivers of the 35 that started, or at least were due to start, are still circulating. Retirements, sadly, for Lenny Reeds and Tim Gerhardt of the Monlau Motorsport team, and Francisco Macedo missed the start in the DXR car. So for Kiano Alazzari, a chance to regroup ahead of a restart. He lost out to Ernesto Rivera on one of those occasions in race 2 last time, but still managed to come home in second place to that man. So are we going to get a restart on this occasion? I think we're still waiting. Safety car in this lap. They have called it quite late, but we are going to go racing again here at Portimao. 12 minutes and 25 on the clock, plus the additional lap. And this is now the chance for Kiano Alazzari of Dubai to lead the race from the British driver Nathan Ty for Campos in the white and black machine in second. Then the Red Bull youngster James Zigotzi of Miami in Florida. Let's see what Kiano Alazzari can do off the restart. Can he time it right? Be a tricky one for him to launch forward, but Nathan Ty is going to be as ready for him as he possibly can be. Watch for James Zigotzi in the Red Bull colours. The young man from Miami in Florida has a great chance to work his way forward. Thomas Strauven, 4th place, already a race winner this season. Ernesto Rivera won the race earlier today from 5th position. Look how late Kiano Alazzari is leaving it this time, and he's still swarming around. He's still trying to catch the drivers out. Wait till he drops the hammer. It's going to be so late. Now he's gone for it. The Shogun out of the final turn, and he's going to launch his way forward. Now we're going to see if Kiano Alazzari can shake off Nathan Ty, and it's green, 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 green here at Portimao once again. Just 11.5 minutes left on the clock. The MP boys on the wall watching it all unfold, and there's already a couple of slipstreams being enacted. Thomas Strauven trying to take on the Red Bull youngster James Zigotzi round the outside. Surely he can't pull that off. He does! Brilliant from Thomas Strauven. Where did that audacity come from? Brilliant from the Belgian. So Strauven goes right round the outside, one of the most impossible overtaking moves to pull off at Portimao in an F4 car. And Strauven makes it look like child's play. Alazari in front of Nathan Tai. Strauven into a spectacular move, gets him into third position. And now we've got Ernesto Rivera trying to shake off his teammate, Jan Piotrowski in P6. Is everybody going to get through turn 4? Looks like it for the moment. Up the climb once again. And still Ernesto Rivera hanging on in front of Jan Piotrowski. How lucky has the F4 Spanish Championship field been with the weather today? Those clouds have been overcast since lunchtime yesterday, and they still haven't hit the circuit with rain. So Alazari, Tai, Strauven, Igotzi, Rivera, Piotrowski, then Matej Kolnagi. Championship contender Lucas Flusha has got his way back into 8th place. Maciej Gladish is doing a terrific job. The pole is up to 9th place. The former WSK Open champion, former FAA Karting Academy trophy champion, really working hard here as he now puts himself into 9th position ahead of the other Red Bull youngster from Thailand, Enzo Tarnvanichkul. Very much following in the footsteps of his predecessor Alex Albon, another Thai Red Bull youngster of the past. Out of the final turn and up the crest, Alazari still leads the way. The boy from the Palm Jumeirah in Dubai, hanging on in front of Nathan Tai from the humble stock of the short oval world. His father was a very competitive stock car racer. Nathan Tai himself came out of the world of the Birla UK Series, a one-make karting championship based across the United Kingdom, worked his way through the British karting and local club championships, went to Europe to captain the Sony Kart factory team, and now here he is in Spanish F4. Look at that restart from Chiara Alazari. He left it so late, but absolutely nailed the throttle off the turn. Only Nathan Tai was able to react quickly enough to go with him. And watch this from Strauven. It can't happen, it can't happen. Oh yes it can. What a barnstormer from Thomas Strauven. Big lock-up down the hairpin. And how on earth did the Cram competition driver get that stopped? I think that might have been Adam Hideg just stamping on the brakes and getting it rotated just in the nick of time. There's quite a few drivers that are on the move actually in this race. Lammers has got himself back up to 11th place. Maciej Gladish has got ahead of Griffin Peebles, as we've already mentioned. And Gabriel Gomez for the Thibaut Courtois Racing Team has got himself up into 16th now, ahead of Cota and Lambert. It's not going well at all, though, for Andres Cardenas. The Peruvian is going backwards. Now finds himself down in 19th. So it's all gone terribly wrong for the Peruvian. But we now complete lap 11, 8 minutes plus 1 lap. There is Griffin Peebles, the Formula Winter Series champion, taking on Lucas Flusha, the man who won on his debut a few weeks ago at Jarama in Spain. And up over the top of the crest here at Portimao, a very wide circuit to go to battle. Look at James Igotzi. He knows he's a sitting target here. He's going to have a really tough job trying to shake off Ernesto Rivera. The Mexican's really going for it. Up to the inside, he's got good speed and pace, and there's nothing James Igotzi can do. He has to let Rivera go. Oh, that's a car that's crabbing at the back of the field. That's one of the Drivex cars. It's Juan Cota. Poor Juan Cota, one of the new faces in Spanish F4, backed and supported by the Spanish Racing Federation. He and Eloy Gonzalez both getting a chance to step up and move forward. Juan Cota is getting support from the Spanish Federation, as too is young Sandro Perez, who you'll see out later this season. What's gone wrong for Igotzi? He's got offline, and that's as a result, he's going to lose ground to Rivera, as well as Piotrowski and Lucas Flusha. So Flusha's got through. Now Flusha is going to try and take on Piotrowski. Jan Piotrowski, the former karting European junior champion, battling away then with Lucas Flusha, the man who's won pretty much every Spanish karting title there is to win. Igotzi's in real trouble. He's gone off. He's gone off the road, so Igotzi is limping. Igotzi in absolute travesty now. The Red Bull youngster is touring in potentially to retire here. So that means Red Bull fans are going to have to cheer on the man from Thailand, Enzo Tarnvanichkul, who now finds himself in 11th position, 1 place away from the points. Out of the race goes Juan Cota. That's very unfortunate indeed for the young prodigy. Luciano Alazari running in front of Tai and Strauven. Here goes the move from Rivera on Igotzi. Perfect. You don't really get it much worse than that. But on the exit, Igotzi was trying to get through, and that's how the problem started. So Igotzi battling away with Piotrowski. Was there contact? I thought there might have been just a little bit of a rub, and I wonder if it's a little bit of a broken wing for Igotzi. As a result, he's dropped all the way to 17th. He's still going, though, I notice. And he's still relatively fast compared to everybody else out there. Strauven is actually the fastest man on the racetrack, though, 1:44.933, and he's only 4/10 behind the second place man, Nathan Ty. So Keanu Alizardi, Nathan Ty and Thomas Strauven, there they are, the top three drivers, three different teams as well. MP, Campos and Rodin Motorsport. Rivera, Piotrowski, Lucia, Gladish and Kolnagi, the KCL MP drivers. Then Peebles, Lammers, Tanvanichkul, Buzinelos, Pedersen, Dedecker and Gomez. So far, so good for the number 24, Ernesto Rivera in the Griffin core by Campos car, being hustled by his teammate Jan Piotrowski. Dropping down through the far side of the course, the leading trio still keeping it very nicely balanced at the moment. Keanu Alizardi in the orange and black MP Motorsport car, based at the Palm Jumeirah, has won pretty much every karting title in the Middle East that it's possible to win, and was fighting for this year's F4 UAE Championship title with Freddie Slater right down to the last race of the season. But he already had a little bit of experience in F4 Spain. He is the favourite for this year's championship, and now that he's got himself a bit of a championship lead, he wants to consolidate, especially now that his closest rival for the title, Lucas Flucia, is down in P6 at the moment. Having Nathan Ty and Thomas Strauven behind him is no concern of Keanu Alizardi's at all, especially after Strauven ended up in dire straits earlier on. Strauven looks like he's got a good run on Nathan Ty. Has he got anything more magic up his sleeve? Chasing down the Brit, Nathan Ty. Fantastic situation for Nathan Ty as he continues to hold on here from Thomas Strauven. It was rather charming. Nathan Ty actually sent me a message the other day. He said, "What is it with you and me? Everywhere I go racing, you seem to follow me. You've been commentating on me since I was 6 years old." And he's not wrong. Nathan Ty hanging on to second in front of Thomas Strauven. There is Ernesto Rivera, the race 2 winner from earlier on. Piotrowski, Flucia up the inside. That is Maciej Gladish going wheel to wheel with his teammate Kolnagi, and that's a spinner. It's one of the GRS cars. That is the 77, I do believe. No, hang on. That's the 11. It's Alexander Jacobi. My apologies. Gabriel Gomez being told you've got 2 laps to go when he comes through this time by. I think that might be a bit ambitious. I think it's actually going to be 3. Looking at the timer we've got, so I think we might actually end up with 3 laps. So I would put another number on that board if I were you, sir. Keanu Alizardi leads the 2 rookie drivers, Nathan Ty and Thomas Strauven. Rivera, Piotrowski, Flucia, Gladish, Kolnagi, Peebles and René Lammers. Enzo Tanvanichkul still running solidly there in 11th position behind René Lammers. Isn't it amazing? You wait for a very talented son of a Dutch racing legend, and 2 come along at once. We've got Max Verstappen in Formula 1, son of Jos, and we've now got René Lammers, son of the Le Mans 24 Hours winner and ex-Formula 1 driver Jan Lammers. Well, Crown Motorsport want to give Filippo Fiorentino all the information he needs. He carries the Brazilian, German and Italian flags on his banner. Talk about intercontinental. And of course, Filippo Fiorentino waves the Italian flag when he's behind the wheel. Here comes René Lammers, diving up the inside of Peebles. Can't make it work. But he keeps the family tradition alive. The nose cone of his car has the black and white stripes of the Racing Team Nederland colours that Jan Lammers used to race in the sports car prototype world. Still the top 3 well clear. Fastest driver on track, Thomas Strauven, at 1:44.933. But Keanu Alizardi just went faster than anybody in the first sector. And again, Griffin Peebles feels the need to cover and protect from René Lammers. A ruthless racer, René Lammers, former European karting champion. And that's in the senior category, and that was in his maiden campaign as well. So it was always inevitable he was going to get into Spanish F4, and inevitable that he was going to be a force to be reckoned with. A lot of people tipping him for the title already in 2025, if he's able to stick around for a second year. So drivers sweeping around. There is Enzo Tanvanichkul, the Red Bull colours for another Thai superstar. Alex Albon, a decade before him, raced in Red Bull colours. Now it's time for Enzo Tanvanichkul to follow in his wheel tracks, and he won the World Championship title in junior at Sarno, just a few miles away from the foot of Mount Vesuvius back in 2022. Uwe de Decker in the BWT colours, trying to shake off Maciej Gladish. Oh no, sorry, that is Andres Cardenas he's battling with. Maciej Gladish is quite considerably far ahead of this. Gladish is up to 7th place and looking like a threat to Lucas Fluscher at the moment. So Uwe de Decker, the Belgian star, backed by BWT, which of course can be seen on the Alpine Formula 1 race cars among many other racing cars in motorsport these days. They also have a Porsche Super Cup team. Down to the braking zone for turn 1. Lucas Fluscher has been passed by Maciej Gladish. So the Polish star has moved his way forward. Oh no, sorry, my apologies. That is Gladish in front of Kolnagi. So he's still trying to chase down Lucas Fluscher. There is a gap of 1.8 between them. I do apologise. But Maciej Gladish still working hard here and looking good for some points positions. Another big charge forward from the Thibaut Courtois racing driver from Brazil, Gabriel Gomes, the former two-time winner of the Trofeo Ayrton Senna in Brazilian karting, now up to 14th place behind Mikkel Pedersen. Still a very intoxicating battle this, because we've got Gladish, Kolnagi, Peebles, Lammers, and now joining in Enzo Tarvanichkul half a second back. And if they keep holding each other up, then the Australian talent Peter Buzanelos is not far away. Let's have another replay. This is Kram versus Drivex. Kram versus Technicar. Fiorentino and Wisniewski. Looked like a bit of a stalemate to me. But there is Ernesto Rivera for the Griffin Corps by Campos team, the number 24. Currently the best of the rest at the moment behind the podium. Time has run down to 0. So as Chiano Alazzari comes off the final turn and comes up over the top of the crest, we are going to have a fabulous run now for Chiano Alazzari as he goes into the final lap of this race here in Portimao with Nathan Tye and Thomas Strauven in his wake. But he has 0.8 of a second on them. It doesn't sound like much, but in F4, that could just be enough to keep this one going all the way to the victory. Here comes Enzo Tarvanichkul battling away. Up over the top of the crest comes Peter Buzanelos for the Rodin Motorsport team. He wants to take away 11th position from Tarvanichkul. But Chiano Alazzari, Nathan Tye and Thomas Strauven. Just think, 10 years from now, there could be quite a selection of these drivers racing in Formula 1 for the 2034 World Championship title. It's crazy to think that Andrea Kimi Antonelli won his F4 title 2 years ago, and they're already talking about him replacing Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes in F1. It just goes to show, if you're good enough, if you're fast enough, if you are the right stuff, nothing could stop you. Nothing can stop Chiano Alazzari right now in the MP Motorsport car. 10 years after the first ever F4 race in the entire world, Chiano Alazzari is going to add his first 2 F4 outright victories in Europe to his incredible CV. He had already been an F4 winner in his home nation, the United Arab Emirates, at the beginning of this year, but he had yet to win in Europe before this weekend. He got his first pole position and a race win yesterday, but he's been on pole position for all 3 races. He conceded to Ernesto Rivera in race 2, but he certainly wasn't prepared to for race 3, and he has made this battle at Portimao his own. The fabulous young talent, Chiano Alazzari, who lives on the Palm Jumeirah in Dubai. A wonderful moment for him as he comes off the final turn, up the crest, and for the second time this weekend, Chiano Alazzari wins at Portimao. Nathan Tye in second, his best ever finish in single-seaters. Thomas Strauven, brilliant points bank there in third. Rivera, Pestrovsky and Lucas Fluscher. Maciej Gladish, what a drive from him in 7th place ahead of Griffin Peebles. Another solid effort from the MP Australian. And then in the final points paying positions, we have Mattia Kolnagi and Enzo Tarvanichkul. So who dropped out of the points on the final lap? It was René Lammers. René Lammers had an issue there and dropped to 15th behind Buzanelos, Pedersen, Gomez and De Decker. Well, a fabulous end to the race then as Chiano Alazzari comes through to grab a second brilliant victory. Second place for Nathan Tye. The floodgates could open for this young Englishman. He comes from an incredibly humble stock, does Nathan Tye. His father was a short dirt oval racer, and he ran himself in the Birolot UK series as a youngster. worked his way into the club races around the United Kingdom, raced under the Oliver Rowland Motorsport banner in karting, then got poached by Sony Kart for European competition. And boy, has he transformed himself into a superstar here at Portimao today, hustling Chiano Alizardi all the way to the death. Thomas Strauben, good points from him after his win at Jarama, and that will do very nicely for him, I'm sure. Rivera in 4th, Bashrovsky in 5th, Lucas Flusha, solid points banked in P6. And then the other star pole, Maciek Gladys, very happy indeed to see him in the top 10, scoring big points. Griffin Peebles, Matej Kolnagi, and the final point going the way of the Campos Red Bull youngster Enzo Tynvenigul. Epic display. And that is 5 single-seater races on the Portimao circuit this weekend, completed with race 3 of Spanish F4. There's going to be more great battles to come in the Euro Cup 3 race as well, which will obviously come shortly after this one. But what a fantastic run for Chiano Alizardi today. He looked strong at Jarama. He looked a very competitive race driver. He looked like the kind of person who's definitely going to be one to watch for the future. The wins were always going to come, but I tell you what, they are absolutely relentless now for this young driver from Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. We're still waiting for a driver from the UAE to get into Formula One. We may not need to wait too much longer with the presence of the superstar ace that is Chiano Alizardi with the carbon black helmet for MP Motorsport. What a magnificent display for the second time. Straight out of the car. He cannot wait to celebrate this one. Chiano Alizardi for the second time. The pint-sized, patriotic, magnificent young racing driver. Chiano Alizardi makes it 2 out of 3 this weekend and moves firmly into the lead of the F4 Spanish Championship title race. What a magnificent result. His father Karim and his younger brother Adam, who you'll see in the car later this year, must be absolutely delighted for Chiano, who just keeps adding amazing accolades to his racing CV. An epic performance from him and a terrific victory. He has always very much reminded me of Rubens Barrichello in the world of motorsport. He has that same can-do attitude, that same passionate air of racing drivers, and he has that great same beaming smile. He's a wonderful young competitor, Chiano Alizardi. He's worked so hard to get to this stage of his career. For all the trials and tribulations of racing in his native land in karting, travelling across to other nations in his junior days in karting with the Tony Kart factory team. Now here he is for MP. They trusted that this team would give him the goods to get the job done. What a sensational decision it was. Chiano Alizardi, 2-time winner this weekend, and now firmly in the lead at the Drivers' Championship.
Two-time winner this weekend. What a weekend for you and for MP Motorsport. So tell me your feelings.
Oh yeah, I mean, incredible weekend. You know, the pace has been good in every race. Should have been a 3 out of 3, but I'm really happy with the results. Car was incredible once more. You know, big thank you to the team. They got a lot of hard work for this, and yeah, they really deserve it.
The race was really eventful, you know, many incidents, but you keep the first position, the P1. So tell me, how is the secret to keep it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a long straight, and this time we had a bit of a tailwind. So I decided to change up my strategy for the restart, because I messed it up in the last race, but worked out well, and happy to take home the win.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I'm very privileged to say I've been part of Chiano Alizardi's journey for quite a considerable amount of years now, watching this guy come through from amazing events like the Dubai O-Plate, just across the road from his home circuit, the Dubai Autodrome, working his way through the trials and tribulations and the difficulties of so many years of hardship in European and world karting. The wins never came, the lessons were certainly forthcoming, but it's wonderful to see Chiano Alizardi finally getting the results to back up his reputation as a fearless racer. 2 wins out of 3 this weekend in Spanish F4, and we have a new championship leader. His name, Chiano Alizardi. Remember it, because you hear it a lot over the course of 2024, that is for sure. Some great battles all the way through. Nathan Ty managing to hold on to second place. The relentless pushing of Thomas Strauben working himself back into a third position. Good recovery drives from Lucas Flusha and Maciek Gladish. Good points scored from them. Good effort from Jan Piotrowski as well, right up in the sharp end of the top 5. He's one to watch for the season, I'm sure. But what a brilliant race. 3 great races then at Portimao in the F4 Spanish Championship. There's a third Euro Cup 3 race to come. But these guys will be back in action on the first weekend of July at Paul Ricard.